Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the Professor, and this is the Moment of Truth. Vivek Ramaswamy, or Vivek Racist Swamy as I like to call him, this little pustule is so sniveling, so pathetic, that I don't see him as worth commenting on, and that's why I've said so little about him. A lot of you panicked about Ron DeSantis for the last couple of years, and I told you years ago this clown wasn't going to go anywhere. He's part of a nationwide trend of GOP extremists going over the top to show their anti-black racism because they've gotten their teeth kicked in by us, and they're desperate to show that they can do, well, something. Even if it's not smart, at least it's something. Vivek is part of that same shameful pattern, and at the same time, not exactly. You see, for many decades, people in American politics have switched teams, as it were. Now, normally this happens with the political ideologues, the advisors, and consultants, occasionally a party chairman like Michael Steele. Though not often you will have a Democrat or Republican politician who holds office and switches to the other party. But no matter what they may tell you, the only reason that they ever do that is based on whether they think that it's going to help them hold on to office. If the demographics and the voting base in their particular district has shifted and they don't have the ability to switch to another district before the next election, then they'll just switch parties and claim, oh, I've seen the light. These guys are so extreme or they're so irresponsible, blah, blah, blah. Those are the usual talking points that normally get used. Politicians are creatures of self-interest. Their only allegiance is to whatever will keep them getting their bribes and payoffs. And then came Donald Trump. Up until Barack Obama was elected president, Trump was pretty much what you would have considered a New York Democrat. He even gave money to Hillary Clinton. He was left of center on issues like gay marriage and abortion, but the one thing that Trump had in common with the Republicans is his all-consuming hatred of black people. Of course, Democrats like Hillary and Biden are no different and no better, but they've never felt the need to be as publicly vocal about it as the Orange Man. This is why we see Vivek doing everything he can to mimic Trump, because essentially that is what he's doing. He's an example of someone trying to get in where he thinks he fit in. This guy back in the day took money from George Soros to fund his education at Yale, but today he claims that he didn't need it, which begs the question, why did he take it? And then he admits that he hasn't voted in dang near 20 years, assuming that's even the truth, though I find it completely typical that he claimed that he voted for a libertarian back in 2004. I've noticed a large number of anti-black racists who claim to be either libertarians or said that they had been libertarians at some point in the past, including people like David Simon, creator of HBO's TV show The Wire. As I see it, libertarians are just Republicans who want to legalize pot. And now that so many states have legalized marijuana, there's really no difference between the libertarians and Republicans, which explains why Ramaswamy's running to get the nomination. This hopping back and forth from one political bed to the next by people in politics isn't new. And I suppose part of the reason that Vivek thinks that he can get away with all of this political bed hopping that he's been doing is because he sees himself as flexible. And that's only because his positions on the issues have been all over the place, except where it pertains to black people. That's about the only subject that he's been consistent on, that he's in favor of whatever is going to harm or disadvantage black people. He's not running for president, at least that's not the reputation he wants. He wants a reputation to be running as the anti-black racist in chief. And like all of these anti-black racists, he claims, oh, I just want to stop focusing on race. We talk about race so much. So what's the first thing he does? He immediately starts talking about race. He claims that white supremacy doesn't exist, that the mass murder in Jacksonville last month wasn't about race but mental illness, and that he wants to get rid of Juneteenth. Now, of all the problems that the pollsters and political experts talk about that they've talked to the voters on what list has any voters been saying Juneteenth is the biggest issue facing America? For that matter, what poll shows that anyone anywhere thinks that affirmative action is among the top 20 of problems that America faces? Nobody does. And yet that's what this guy's running on. Why does this creep run around spouting all this gibberish? Because these white supremacists think about race all the time. They think about black people all the time. As Lee Atwater, the infamous Republican strategist, said, whenever they talk about things like taxes or some other kind of seemingly general neutral issue, they're still talking about crafting policies meant to harm black people. Those are the code words that they like to use. Or rather, the context is what determines that it's a racial code word. When they say cutting taxes, that's code for cut any governmental resources that might go to black people. Because these same racist white supremacist businessmen on the right, they want government contracts and consultancies. They want that government money whenever they need it to prop up their businesses. You never hear them talking about taxes then, but that's because the money's going to go to them. So it's not about taxes. It's about sending the message loud and clear that Ramaswamy is the candidate of anti-black racism. He knows that there's a bottom-feeding constituency out there who wants to hear that, and he's serving up the slop to the pigs whose votes he desires. When you hear the black grassroots talking about how they're immigrant groups who come from cultures of anti-black racism and bring that to the U.S., Vivek Ramaswamy is what we're talking about. Now, he's not going anywhere as a presidential candidate. He's clearly auditioning for a job from whoever does actually get the nomination. We've seen this before. Bobby Jindal was an Indian-American politician from Louisiana. He was also a wannabe presidential candidate during the Bush years. Jindal did nothing to make a name for himself. He basically was a professional GOP cheerleader, and he hoped that sucking up to them would get him to the White House. Spoiler, it didn't. Vivek's trying to get a VP nomination or a cabinet position from Trump. That's what he's trying to do. He's jockeying for that particular position. There is precedent for this, by the way. Pete Buttigieg ran for president, you'll recall. He made a mediocre showing of himself. However, Biden made him transportation secretary. And Buttigieg has been doing absolutely nothing in that position. It's obvious that he's just trying not to antagonize the airlines and the car companies and the other interests whose financial donations he's going to want the next time that he makes another damn-to-fail run for the presidency. Now, this is not to say that racist Swamy's not a genuine bigot. He is. The fact that he's being this blatant with his anti-black racism shows that he's perfectly willing to make this his political reputation. The reason for that is because he has plenty of experience with having a rotten rep, yet still able to turn around as if he hadn't done anything wrong and just go on about his business. You see, Vivek made his money in what amounted to a pharmaceutical pump-and-dump scheme. But this was before he decided to become the candidate of white supremacy. A professional BS artist is what he is, and he's on the campaign trail because he figures the racist rubes he wants to cater to weren't among the people that he allegedly ripped off, so he ought to be okay on that front. And for the most part, he's been right, but again, while racist Swamy is never going to become president, that doesn't mean his anti-black race baiting is harmless. Like DeSantis, he's contributing to the non-stop drumbeat of attacking black people. So while these racists aren't going to get any further in their political careers, they will help to push the Republicans' program of laws and policies meant to attack the black community. Oh, and on a side note, to the GOP shills who pop up in the comment section saying stupid stuff like, "This is why y'all need to vote for the Republicans," or other idiots who start off their comments saying, "I'm black and I'm voting for Trump," as if black folks cannot see right through it. Trump is offering us nothing. The GOP is offering us nothing. And why would any black person want to vote for a Republican when two of their current presidential candidates say that they want to rename military bases after Confederates? The Republican Party's decades-long track record of anti-black racism is the very thing that caused so many black people to run to the Democrats in the first place. And simply giving an empty denial and saying vote for the Republicans anyway, that's not going to work. The Republicans are no more our friends than the Democrats are. Now, whenever these guys decide to pull their heads out of the sand, or wherever else they've got their heads tucked, and they decide to start talking like they got some sense, and acting like they seriously want our vote, then come and talk to me. But to you trolls, understand something. Black people are not going to automatically switch to the Republicans just because we call out the Democrats' benign neglect. You act just like these Democrat shills who think that they can just drop some talking points about how racist the GOP is and that we'll forget all about reparations and our tangibles and Biden's reprehensible record and vote for the Democrats no matter what. Well, that ain't gonna happen. And then you have the nerve to tell us that you're not racist? Sure, pull my other leg, why don't you? The trend that you're seeing among black voters now is the return to a proper political mindset of don't vote for someone unless they tell you specifically what black people are going to get. You're also seeing a new trend of black people actually keeping receipts on what these racists say and do. So when Ramaswamy or DeSantis or Biden calls themselves smiling in our faces, we'll be able to tell the scumbags where they can go and why. Now, if I had to call it, I would say that Vivek's gambit to try to get Trump to throw him a bone most likely won't work. Donald Trump liked some of the sucking up that Vivek did, but Trump doesn't like ambition in those around him, because that means that somebody might get the gumption to try to replace him. Vivek's younger and subservient, but he's also shown that he'll do anything for money or for a vote. Black voters can't afford to be naive. The GOP doesn't have our best interest in mind any more than the Democrats, and when the people who want to gain traction in the party all run to the exact same strategy of attacking black people, that tells me the party leadership is rotten, and so is their base. And that's the reason why we are not going to become part of it. Good day, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors: Dondi Waddell, Charlie, Aaron Ray, Edmund Ramsey, and Marquez Bowden. Salute to them, and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.